All right, we are back on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. How you doing, Carter?
I'm doing good, man. Had a good day today. Just did some work and then had my kids, went to dinner, got everything ready for the show. Got a big show today, man. Lots to talk about. Surprisingly, it's not a whole lot going on other than fall camp, but there's plenty to talk about. Getting ready for the season. I'm getting geared up, dude. I mean, we got NFL football going on. We're 15 days away, or not even week zeros in like 7 days or 8 days or whatever. So getting to be that time. Mornings are getting a little crisp. It's about to be football season. I'm excited, man. Lot to go over, lots to talk about. It's an exciting time of year.
Right. It's so close. Fall is almost to where you can almost taste it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. How's your week going so far?
Uh, it's going well. A little unfortunate snafu this morning, but other than that,
Yeah.
everything is going well.
That's good, man. Yeah, you text me about that. It's never easy to go through that, man. But unfortunately, it's part of life.
Yep, it is definitely part of life.
But yeah,
What
we
is
got a lot to talk about today. Kind of take your mind off that and jump into some college football discussions and things like that. I don't know if you have anything you want to go off the rip with, but otherwise, I can jump into some things I saw on social media today.
um this is very off topic, and
Hmm.
it it's one of those things that, when it comes to the what is going on in Colorado,
No.
I'm not bagging on Colorado. I'm just saying that when people in the media write unfavorable things about you, and then you treat them very poorly in front of their peers, and you shut them out of things, the only thing that does is force them. And if they get removed from the beat, that means the next person they send in probably won't write anything bad, but that person's still got a pin, and it's not going to stop them from digging. So, uh, I don't care who you are, whether you're Urban Meyer or Ryan Day or Deion Sanders, pick your battles wisely. That's the
Hmm.
only advice I would have.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't follow Colorado closely because they aren't a program of consequence. They really don't matter in the landscape of college football. They're irrelevant. They proved that last year when everybody got so hyped up about their 4-0 start or whatever it was. And then they ended up winning like 5 games or 6 games, whatever it was. So I don't follow it. I don't care. Deion Sanders is Deion Sanders. He has been since he was in the league. He's the same person. It's all self promotion. He's going to get his sons drafted and then probably dip out. I did think it was funny that he had a bone to pick with not being ranked in the top 25. It's like, bro, win more than 4 games. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you have no business being in the top 25. Your roster is dog shit.
Yeah,
Shador is the only viable player you have other than Travis Hunter. And they can't carry the whole team. They proved that last year. And I don't think Shador is as good as everybody says. We'll get into that in a minute. But no, it's that whole program is a fucking mess. And I can't wait for another 4-8 season and for it to just. I mean, Colorado's going to have to make a decision. Do they care about winning or do they care about making money? And I think it's making money. So he could be there for the long haul and go 4-8 every year but I think it's going to get stale. I think the message is going to get stale. I think the media is going to get bored of it because ultimately it was fun initially because he started 3-0 or 4-0 and it was like, ooh, he might be onto something. And then he lost like 8 games straight and we realized that his program is dog shit. And then he turns over the whole roster again and his program is going to be dog shit again.
well, I just feel like there's a lot going on in Colorado, and it's not everything that gets reported out there isn't related to football. And I
No.
find I find that a huge problem. You got your quarterback showing off a diamond watch to the fans. The Rolls Royces, you have lawsuits, you have gambling in the locker room allegedly, you have hazing with the Jordan Seaton kid fighting another kid to prove his manhood. It's been labeled the GTA on steroids. I don't know where you go from there, but when it comes down to it, I just feel like I don't care as much.
Well, you can just look at his sons and figure out pretty quickly that I don't think discipline is really his biggest thing. Like, his son beat up a bodyguard, and his biggest concern was, how do we make this go away?
Well, yeah, that is.
So, I mean, that's just, that's me. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm different. Like, I would absolutely help my son through anything and whatever. But if he did something, I would expect him to be held accountable. But neither here nor there. It's a shit show program with a bunch of ultimately shit players.
Travis Hunter's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got like one or two good players. I mean, we'll see what Dallin Hayden turns into, but outside of Shedeur and Travis Hunter, who does he really have? You know, and it's not gonna. It's gonna be the same old from Dion. He was good in HBCU junior college land because he's playing a bit against a bunch of sub-tier or subpar opponents, and now he has to face a couple good opponents a year. He's really not facing that hard of a schedule, but he still can't put a roster together. I'm out on Deion Sanders. He's a train wreck. I wanted him to go to Florida State, but if I'm a Florida State fan, I'm so glad that they never hired him.
Well, I think Mike Norvell's doing a really good job.
Mike Norvell's doing a great job.
So I think this is the tale of two halves here, parallel stories. But enough of that. What's the first topic you got for us?
So saw this today after the AP Top 25 came out a couple of days ago. We already have the most overrated and underrated teams on the board. I believe this came from CBS or On3, one of them. And I found it interesting because I disagree with, maybe all of them. I definitely disagree with a few of them. So let me throw this at you here, and then we'll see what you think. So here are the top overrated and underrated teams on the top 25. Obviously, overrated, you got Michigan and Notre Dame. Underrated, you got Alabama, USC, and Miami.
I agree.
Go ahead and hit me with your thoughts.
2 out of the 3, and the other one is kind of like a meh for me. Alabama.
2 out of 3 underrated?
Yeah. I agree with where, Alabama, I think they're going to be fine.
But would you call them underrated?
I wouldn't call them Alabama underrated. They're
the number 5 team in the country. How is that underrated?
Yeah, that's just something that I don't know. I don't know how you can call them underrated. Yeah. Your top 5 team. Who is ahead of them? That you could argue outside of Georgia and Ohio State probably that they're not the number 3 team in the nation now. No. Now USC. Underrated. I don't know. Are they going to stop anybody on defense? I think it's the beginning of the end in Southern California, and I think they're going to have to strip that down to bare bones and start over. And I feel like you would have had Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach, and it would have gave the program a nice reset. But Lincoln Riley didn't get the Raiders job, so they're stuck with Lincoln, and I don't think Lincoln wants to be there. That's just my opinion. Moving on to Miami, I think Miami is very underrated because I think Cam Ward's going to be a lot better than what people are giving him credit for. So that's just me. I think Cam Ward's going to be pretty good. He's finally got some weapons down there in Miami. Moving on to Michigan. Yeah, they're overrated. at this point, because you don't know what you got in Alex Orji or who's going to play quarterbacks. Maybe, i.e. the corpse of Gerald Ford will resurrect himself to play quarterback. Who knows? Or maybe Fielding Yost or Fritz Chrysler. I don't know. But any of those could be more viable options than what they have now. Is that defense legit? Yes. Defense is 100% legit. I would say they're probably a top 3 unit in the nation. Offense, it's kind of a train wreck, I would say, outside of Donovan Edwards. I don't know what you got there. So Michigan's going to be a big question mark. Now comes to the take everybody's been waiting on. Notre Dame, are they overrated? It depends upon what light you look at this through, because depending on how you look at it, there's arguments for yes, and then there's arguments for no. Does Notre Dame have a top 5 defense? Yes. Is there a ton of question marks on offense? Yes, because some of the reports coming out today that they're going to start two true freshmen on the offensive line at Texas A&M, at Kyle Field. Texas A&M's got a legit, they probably have 3 or 4 players, or maybe even 5 players on their defensive line that are probably going to play in the NFL. Now the reason why I feel like Notre Dame will be able to ride the ship is because they play three MAC teams this year. So I don't get hung up in Notre Dame's numbers, because I look at their numbers versus what they do against Florida State, what they do against Texas A&M. That is where a lot of the cloak and dagger is on Notre Dame, and trying to read through the BS, because you can go out there and hang 50 on Kent State or Miami of Ohio, or lose at home against Marshall. Not everybody forgets that.
Yeah, it's happened.
So with Notre Dame, I think they're perfectly rated where they are. Now, it's just going to depend upon the team whether they go up or down.
Yeah. And I don't think necessarily they go up or down. But I would argue I have a problem with every single one of these. Alabama underrated. They're number 5 in the fucking country. How is that underrated? Name one team in the top 4 they should be ranked above. I'll wait. They're going to be ranked to go above Georgia? No. More returning talent. They didn't lose as much in the transfer portal. Ohio State, more returning talent. They gained a lot more in the transfer portal. Oregon, more returning talent. They gained a lot more in the transfer portal. Texas beat them last year, first of all. So how are they underrated? They're number 5 in the country. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, I think. It amazes me that somebody can be number 5, and because their name is Alabama, somehow they're underrated. I don't think they're overrated. I think they're rated properly. They're going to be a great team, and DeBoer is a good coach. But you just lost the greatest coach of all time. You lost a shit ton in the portal because that coach left. I don't see how they could be underrated. It makes no sense. Now let's jump to Michigan. Overrated? I don't know. I don't see it. They lost 10 of 11 starters on offense. The only returning starter they have is the tight end Loveland. I get it. But they had a bunch of experience behind those guys that have played a bunch of snaps outside of the quarterback position. Their defense is an automatic top 5 defense in the country. I'm not a Michigan fans that watch this show, they already know I'm not a Michigan stan. So I'm not going to give you some bullshit on how they're good when they aren't. I think Michigan's a top 10 team. I think their floor is 8-4, their ceiling's 11-1. So they're going to be somewhere in the playoff mix. USC, underrated? I don't see it. First of all, field a defense for once in your life, like you said. I don't think that's going to happen. Second of all, you just lost a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that was subpar against good teams. If he was that bad against good teams, how is the backup going to be that much better? I think USC is rated appropriately. Notre Dame overrated. I can see the argument. The only reason I don't is you're talking about a top 2, top 3 defense, which is going to keep them in every single game. You're talking about a schedule where they actually only play 3 games this year. 4 if you include no, just A&M, Florida State, Clemson, and USC. So I guess 4 games technically.
I don't think Clemson's not on the schedule. You're thinking of FSU.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. And their offense is going to be fine. They have a couple young offensive linemen, but Notre Dame's proven itself time and time again with the offensive line. I have worries about the offensive line against elite talent, but they don't play a whole lot of elite talent. I think they're rated appropriately. Miami, you can make an argument for them being underrated. The only reason I don't think they are underrated is because you can make an argument for them being underrated for every year since 2001, pretty much, and they've never lived up to it. So until they prove it to me, 19's a gift. And we'll get into it here in a little bit when we talk about Clemson, who I think Notre Dame might end up facing in the playoffs or something like that. But I think the ACC is a 3-team race between Florida State, Clemson, and Miami. And Miami has a good chance to win the ACC, but I still don't think they're underrated at 19. I would argue that all of these are wrong.
Well, I get what you're saying with Miami. Miami is like a Texas A&M. You got to go out there and prove it. Alabama, yeah, I see your argument there. We agree on USC. Mm-hmm. Michigan, I think we'll figure everything we need to know out about Michigan when they play Texas. But
the thing is, Michigan's only losable games outside of maybe USC are against top 5 opponents or top 10 opponents. Like you're talking about Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. Yeah, those are all top 5 opponents. Yeah, they might lose those 3 games, but that doesn't make them underrated at 9. Like they should lose those games. Those are the 3 of the top 5 teams in the country. So, yeah. I mean, they're not going to lose to anybody else. Maybe USC, but USC's at home. I bet they beat USC. So I don't see how you could call Michigan overrated. I mean, I think, I have question marks about the quarterback position. Is it going to be Alex Orji or is it going to be Jack Tuttle? And does it really matter, though? If they have anything like the offensive line and the offense they had last year, you could have put Honda McCord or fucking, I don't know, Lincoln Keenholz back there or Tommy Reese or whoever, and they would have done just fine. Like, you didn't need J.J. McCarthy. That's why J.J. McCarthy was a question mark going into the NFL, because they didn't use him, because they didn't need to. So if they recruited as well as I think they have on the offensive line and you have Donovan Edwards, I really don't care who the quarterback is.
So you're buying stock in Michigan right now.
Oh, if you give them, if they're considered overrated, I think Michigan's a top 12 team this year. So if they are overrated at number 9, I'd probably buy stock in them because their schedule lines up perfectly. They have 3 difficult games, one of which is at home, and then USC, who's also at home. I think they go 10-2 and probably make the playoffs. And now, if they're allowed to make the playoffs, that's a whole different conversation. But they probably will be, because that punishment won't come down until after this season. So, but yeah, I think Michigan's a playoff team. Notre Dame's a playoff team. Alabama's a playoff team. The other 2 are not. Miami might be, but until you prove it to me as Miami, they have been awful for the past 20 years. So until you prove it to me, I'm not considering you underrated. It's like saying Penn State's underrated. Fuck out of here.
The Kings of 10-2.
Exactly. So just my opinion, but I disagree with almost everybody on this list. I think the only one you can make an argument for is Miami, but that's if you ignore the history of Miami the past 20, 25 years.
All right, I'll be sure to tweet it out. Carter Smith on the record saying Michigan to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they will. I think their schedule lines up for it. I think Michigan goes 10-2 this year. That would be my guess. I think they upset. Actually, that's tough. Yeah, because Texas is at home. They're not upsetting Texas. They're going to lose to Oregon on the road. They're going to lose to Ohio State on the. I'm going to guess they go 9-3. They're a fringe playoff team.
I think I'd seen our guys over at McCready and Siskey say Iowa to the playoffs. They're buying.
Well, Iowa's got a favorable schedule, so that makes sense. But
Iowa could end up 11-1.
Yeah,
11-1.
And that would probably put them in the Big Ten championship game, right?
Yeah, I don't know how the tiebreaker is going to shake out because
I think that would put them in, and then they would get their cheeks clapped by whoever was in the play and then I don't know. So that's where it gets interesting because 11-1 Iowa goes to the Big Ten championship games, gets clapped by Oregon or Ohio State. So now they're 11-2. I would make an argument that a 9-3 Michigan with 3 losses to 3 top 5 teams gets in over an 11-2 Iowa with no real wins.
That is going to be a tough sell because, when it comes to strength of schedule, because Michigan going 9-3, their only losses would be Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas, which are all 3 playoff teams. So,
yeah. And I think, and you noticed, I don't know if you saw this today, but the CFP got rid of the conference champion as a marker or as a talking point. So it doesn't matter if you're a conference championship or if you played for a conference championship, that no longer matters. And I think the reason they did that is because
situations like this.
Yeah, because the conference champions are automatically in, right? Mm-hmm. Like the 5 conference champions, automatic bids, 4 of them get a bye. And then the next 7, they want to be able to pick brands. They want to be able to pick TV shows. So if it comes down to Michigan for the 12 seed or Iowa for the 12 seed, you're going Michigan.
Oh, no doubt. I do not blame you on that at all.
But so on top of that, we had a little Davey O'Brien Award, which is the best quarterback in the country. We had a little award list come out, and I thought it was interesting. I don't know if this is – I think this is in order. So here, let me put it up for everybody watching. If you're not watching, Google Davey O'Brien Award watch list. But here's the watch list. So obviously you got Carson Beck 1, Jackson Dart 2, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, who we'll touch on here in a minute, Riley Leonard at 6, which I love, and then it gets a little sketchy.
Okay.
Honda McCord at 7, Graham Mertz at 8. And then Jalen Milroe, Sanders, DJ Ugale, and Cameron Ward.
Okay, why is Kyle McCord on this list?
Because, bro, he's a 5-star.
Why is Graham Mertz on this list? And I'm not even digging Graham Mertz a hole here.
I'll dig him. He's not even going to start, but yeah.
I'm just saying when it comes to Graham, like, if you look at his numbers, he was really efficient, but he just didn't do anything that jumped off the page at you. Just to the average is grits, just like Kyle McCord. Actually, Kyle was a little below average. Derek, hopefully I'll probably hear from you in the DMs if you see it, so you can
hey, Derek, Kyle fucking sucks. But anyways.
When it comes to I don't disagree with Carson Beck, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, or Dylan Gabriel, or Will Howard. I think all those guys will probably be in New York.
I don't disagree with the top 5 or top 4. Top 4. I don't disagree with top 4. Will Howard, I think, is a little premature to be up there. Dude was just fighting Devin Brown for a starting position.
Well,
he almost didn't start and you're going to put him as a top 5 guy for the Davey O'Brien?
Well, I think it's just the offense that you're plugging him into.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
You got a new offensive coordinator. You don't even know what that offense looks like anymore.
Oh, it's gonna the beat saying the offense ain't changing, but buddy, I'm just I'm just telling you,
has
it's
been
gonna
so
look
accurate
different.
on everything all the time that I'm sure they know.
It's gonna look the Ohio State offense
totally
is
different.
Gonna look totally different. It's not gonna be 3-level passes. It's gonna be, trap.
Oh my god. I think it'll be Ryan Day's offense with a Chip Kelly spin on it. And the spin's going to be a lot of running the football because guess what? Will Howard is good, serviceable. I think he has shown strides in spring or in fall camp that obviously led him to being named the starter, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I mean, the fact that Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Kyle McCord, and Graham Mertz are ranked over Jalen Milroe and Shedeur Sanders is wild.
Well, when it comes to the Davey O'Brien Award, maybe they have taken throwing the football down the field like it's not that big of a deal. I don't know.
I have no idea. But regardless, I agree with the top 4. I think one of those top 4 wins the award. Probably Quinn Ewers, if I had to guess. Carson Beck is obviously a favorite for the Heisman, a favorite for this. I mean, he's going to have a year too. But yeah, I just thought Kyle, he's still getting that 5-star bump. He's still getting that Ohio State love because he went to Ohio State. Motherfucker plays at Syracuse. When's the last time Syracuse had a player on a national watch list for any award? Donovan McNabb?
Yeah, and I was like 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, it's still Syracuse. He could go light it up, but he's going to go 7-5.
Dwight Freeney?
Okay, maybe, yeah. But regardless, and Graham Mertz, he'll be lucky to even survive week 5.
Yeah, it's not looking too hot.
If Lagway is not playing by week 5, then Napier said, I respect this kid too much to ruin his career, and I know I'm getting fired.
This is another segue into what we're going into next. I've also heard from some grumblings from some people down south that Florida is not going to fire him.
That's funny because I heard the exact opposite. I heard he was already told that he's been fired.
So I don't know. We'll see, but I promise
you, if he goes 4-8, he's fired. I don't care what anybody told him.
This is just my advice to the people or anybody looking to take the Florida job. It is just like the Ohio State job. You don't leave on your own terms. They fire them all. Look at everybody they fired at Florida. Muschamp, Mullen, McElhaney.
You mean since Urban? Yeah.
I would argue that they fired Urban, but that's just
my God, no. They would have got on their knees and done whatever they had to do to keep Urban. No, they definitely didn't fire Urban. Urban left. And according to Florida fans, he left the cupboard bare, even though he had top 5 recruiting classes every year. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, no, I mean, Napier knows he's on his way out. Maybe that's why Graham Mertz is all on this. He's going to start Graham Mertz the whole year, throw for 7,000 yards while they go 4-8. I don't know. But regardless, after the top 4, I think it gets questionable. Riley Leonard, I think, has a chance, a dark, deep, very long shot chance if he stays healthy. Kyle McCord, no chance. Graham Mertz, no chance. Milroe, if he can throw, chance. Shedeur Sanders, probably no chance other than the last name Sanders. Ungale, chance. Cameron Ward, chance. I think there's probably 4 or 5 guys on the list that you can eliminate immediately just because their team isn't going to be good or they're not going to throw the ball enough. Like Will Howard and Riley Leonard, they're going to have good teams. I don't think they throw the ball enough to win this award because they're both going to rely on the run. McCord, Mertz, and Sanders are going to be on such awful teams that there's no chance. Like you're not giving the award to somebody who led his team to a 7-5 record. So, and that's being generous to Sanders and Mertz.
Yeah. For me, I think Jackson Dart and Carson Beck are probably, and Quinn Ewers. Those are the top three. I think they got that right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I put Dylan Gabriel in there. I think Oregon's going to sling it a bit, and Oregon's going to be a good team. I think the top 4 is correct. And I think Will Howard being 5 isn't an abomination. I just don't think he's going to throw the ball enough to win it.
I think he's going to run. I think Will Howard's going to run the shit out of the ball.
Yeah, which isn't going to help you win the Davy O'Brien. But anyway, that's just a little preseason award list that I was interested in. Having talked about that, Will Howard, obviously number 5 on the Davy O'Brien list. And he was named starting quarterback today. Finally, Ryan Day named a starting quarterback. He didn't wait until 3rd week of the season this year. Hopefully that means different things for them. But I thought this was interesting. So On3 came out with their top 10 players that will determine the college football playoff race. And I'll put it up for you guys so you can see it here. Because it's interesting to me, at least. So Will Howard's number 1. I think that is probably pretty accurate. I think he is the most important person on this list just because of the talent at Ohio State and the people they brought back. And Ohio State should be one of the best teams in the country. So absolutely Will Howard's impact at Ohio State, especially now that he's been named the starter, is going to be massive. Outside of him, number 2 on the list is a guy that we don't even know is going to start at quarterback.
Well, that's what I was saying. And before we hop all the way into this list, everybody out there, if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And if you're watching on Twitter, come on over to YouTube and join the chat and get interactive and ask questions. We like interacting with the people in the chat.
Absolutely.
Alex Orgy, yeah, that's what I was saying. I think Michigan's a big question mark on offense, and I don't know if they have a concrete plan on what they are doing. That is
that. It's just amazing that you would rank him as the number 2 most impactful player that will determine the college football playoff race. He might not even make the playoffs. Like I just said, I think 10-2, 9-3, which will put him on the bubble. But when you look at the rest of this list, Will Howard, I think Ohio State makes the playoff pretty easily. Dylan Gabriel, I think Oregon makes the playoff pretty easily. Jalen Milroe, I think Alabama makes the playoff pretty easily. Drew Aller, Penn State's got a favorable schedule. They don't have to play all the big hitters in the Big Ten. So they probably make the playoff. It'll be kind of up in the air. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. I know Ole Miss is Ole Miss, but I still think they make the playoffs. And then you got Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. And we'll get into Brian Kelly in a second, but I don't think LSU is making the playoff. Cam Ward. Yeah, go ahead.
I disagree. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be really good. He's going to be better than what people think he is. I think he is better than Drew Aller, head and shoulders.
I agree. I think LSU's schedule is way more difficult than Penn State's, though.
But this goes back to the argument: is a 9-3 LSU better than a 10-2 Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that'll work. Again, obviously, CFP is ran by ESPN, so there's going to be a little SEC bias, I'm sure. But the Big Ten and SEC are on equal footing right now. SEC probably has a little leg up just because they've won more natties and everything like that recently. But I still think.
But Not if
That'll
we're
be
picking
interesting.
brands. I think the LSU brand is better than the Penn State brand.
Yeah, probably. That's true.
And, you know, it's for me, it's, you know, it's that SEC biased.
Yeah, I mean that might be true. You might be right.
Because
So I guess they both could be impactful. I don't think they'll impact the college football playoff once they're in, but yeah.
but you see, that's the argument between Michigan and Iowa. Is Michigan a bigger brand than Iowa? Yes. Does a
Well,
tougher Michigan
so
is a way bigger
the
brand than Iowa.
yeah, no. I'm saying the difference is they're in the same conference.
Well, I get that, but LSU's schedule's harder than Penn State's.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a lot easier to compare Iowa and Michigan because they're in the same conference and they're going to have common opponents. And so if Iowa goes 10-2, their losses will be to Ohio State and who? I don't remember who they play. Anyways, regardless of that, Michigan's losses are going to be 3 top 5 teams. Iowa's are not. LSU's losses are going to be to Texas. I think they avoid Bama. I forget who they play, but either way, yeah, those are similar. I agree. So you can make an argument for that. Cam Ward, I agree. I think he could be an impactful person to determine the race.
It's for Cam Ward. It's his final year. It's a shit or get off the pot. Donovan Edwards. I
can't believe there's 2 Michigan people on this list.
Well, it's because of how big of the question mark is. Because if they do what they did last year, play really good defense and run the ball down your throat, Michigan's going to be tough. And there's a theory that I want to get into off the air after we're done. It's not out, not for public consumption yet, but.
No, yeah. And then Kobe Prentice, he's going to be a great receiver. I don't think he impacts the race at all. Alabama's probably going to be in, and it's going to have nothing to do with Kobe Pierce. Like
I think Milroe's more of a impact than anything.
Well, that's why he's ranked where he is, obviously. But I think they just couldn't think of 2 more people. Because Donovan Edwards, I agree he's going to be impactful, but if Michigan makes the college football playoff, it 100% is going to be because they have a quarterback. They're like JJ McCarthy as game manager as he was last year, he was still a good quarterback, and that's why they were able to go 15-0. It doesn't matter who's running the ball for them. They have good running backs, but this is just like the Heisman. It should be a straight quarterback list. I could name probably 2 or 3 more quarterbacks that I think will be more impactful than Donovan Edwards and Kobe Prentice. Like Riley Leonard's going to be more impactful on the college football race than both of them.
What about J.J. Smith?
For Ohio State?
Yeah.
No, not at all. He could die tomorrow, and Ohio State would still make the playoff.
A little extreme, Carter. A little extreme.
I'm just saying. I hope he doesn't. I'm not trying to say, like, I'm wishing death on the guy. I like the guy. I think he's going to be a great player. But Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, Brandon Inniss, J.J. Smith, any one of them could tear their ACL tomorrow, and Ohio State's still going to be the number 2 team in the country. Like they have plenty of talent at wide receiver. Now, I think J.J. Smith takes them to another level. I think Emeka Egbuka takes them to another level. But no, I don't think that's an impact on the college football playoff race at all. I think if Riley Leonard tears his ACL tomorrow, Notre Dame's out. I think
no faith in Angeli, huh?
No, I think Angeli will be fine, but he'll lose a couple games. I mean, it's just there's not many teams that can do what Ohio State did in 2014 and go to their 3rd string quarterback and win a natty. Like that just doesn't happen. I think if let's see who else is there?
In 2014, they had a great receiver coach. You got to chalk a lot of it up to him, even though he's a little on the fat side.
I don't know.
But all right, let's hop on with your
let's continue.
I seen that picture and I sent it to you, and I just said thoughts and I didn't get a response. And I'm sure you looked at that and there was a lot of head shaking.
Yeah, I did. I fucking hate this guy. Like there are like I don't hate any. Well, that's not true. I hate this guy, but I try very hard not to hate people because hate is a bad thing for your soul, right? But my God, this fucking guy, dude, and it'll always be fuck this guy on this program. I don't care what you say. I don't care what anybody says. This is the most fucking just disgusting bullshit I've ever seen. Dude, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, I don't know what to say per se. I mean, this is just as cringy as the
everything he's done since going to LSU. Yeah, I agree. My family or my fucking little
I
like get the fuck out of here, dude. You're fucking from like New England. Like you're an East Coast fucking douchebag. Why are you wearing a cowboy hat, riding a mechanical bull? Like, oh my God, dude. This pissed me off more than probably it should have. But this guy is such a phony. He's so fake. And everything he does is just to push his agenda, to push his fucking just how much money can I make? How much money can I make off of just taking care of these fucking kids that I'm just leeching off of? Dude can't recruit now. So he's going to make it about, oh, well, we're not paying players like everybody else. Fuck off. LSU's been paying players since before it was legal. Richie, yes, it was Sack Smith. It was Zach Smith. Yes, Sack Lunch.
But, at some point, somebody's going to run across this and clip this up and send it to him. And he's going to, you guys do it talking shit.
No, never. That's my dude. But this fucking guy, man, I hope LSU is terrible. I'm sorry. I'm not a spiteful person very often, but I hope LSU falls on their fucking face. I hope they go fucking 6-6. And I want to hear every excuse. Don't forget, this motherfucker murdered a person.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
Now that you've said all that, it's gonna come to pass now, Carter. LSU undefeated, Garrett Nussmeier next, Joe Burrow. It's just not.
Bro, I will put any amount on it. Let's go. I
don't think they'll go undefeated, but I think they're gonna make. Make the playoffs.
I gotta ask you a question though. You look at this picture, right? His smile's a little fucking weird, right? Here's what I think. I think there's a dildo on that saddle.
Oh no.
I think he's enjoying it a little too much.
Well, I think when we strip all that away, I think at the end of the day he has a pretty good quarterback. And and I know, being honest, you can only go as far as a lot of times as your quarterback can take you. So
yeah, he'll find a way to fuck it up, trust me.
I think LSU may struggle on defense.
He is looking a lot like Mr. Garrison. I agree, Richie. But anyways, enough fuck Brian Kelly. That guy sucks. He's one of the worst people in the world. Fake as fuck. But let's move in. I want to get we're going long on this social media shit. So let's move into. I want to talk about stay of the program. Let's talk about Clemson, who Notre Dame does not face in the regular season, but I think Clemson's schedule lines up well for them to potentially face them in the playoffs. And I love breaking down Clemson. So let's talk a little bit about Clemson and what they're going to be this year. So I'll jump into it, and then you can, jump in when you feel like it. But so Clemson in 2024, I think this is a make or break year for Dabo. I think he has to make the playoffs, if I'm being honest. I think that his national championships and everything he's done is wearing thin. It's time to step up and show that you can still coach in today's day and age.
Here's the thing when it comes to Dabo and Clemson. And I get it, you can say the program's cooked and all of this and all of that. Regardless, their defense is going to be really good. So Clemson's defense will be really good this year. I think they'll be on the struggle bus on offense. I think they're a 10-2 team, possibly. I think they'll drop one they're not supposed to, and I think anything can happen in the conference championship game. So they could end up 11-2 or something of that sort. But when it comes to the speculation about Dabo and the job and all that, I think that Dabo has a huge cushion. I think that Clemson people down there, and I got a little bit of an insight on this. I asked somebody that question, is Dabo on the hot seat? And I was told absolutely no. Dabo is going to coach there as long as he wants.
That's easy to say. That's easy to say.
So when it comes to that, if Clemson goes 6-6, I think they turn it on, and they're kind of like, hey, you might want to pick it up. And I think if he would turn into 6-6 seasons, I think that the question would be asked at that point.
So I have them. Let's see. L, 1 win, L, 2, L, 3, 4, L, 5, 6, 7. I have them 8-4.
See, and if you're a Clemson fan, I don't think 8-4 is unreasonable. Because
I have them 8-4, but I could see them going 10-2. I think 10-2 is the ceiling. I think 8-4 is the floor. So here, I think they go 10-2, make the playoff, which is why I put them in the show notes to break down, because I think 10-2 Clemson could get a 11-12 seed and face off with Notre Dame in the first round. And here's the thing. They start out August 31st with Georgia.
That's what we're going to find out a lot about Clemson.
Oh, we aren't going to find out shit, dude. We aren't going to find out shit. They're going to get – it is going to be – you should call the cops now and let them know that there's a rape that's about to happen, because Georgia is going to just tattoo that ass.
Well, Georgia hasn't lost a regular season game in 3 years, so –
yeah, so Georgia's going to tattoo them. That's going to be like a 38-0 fucking brawl. After that, they got Appalachian State, who Appalachian State isn't what they once were, but that's still a decent.
Hey, Sun Belt, Fun Belt, baby.
Yeah.
Never count the Fun Belt out.
So I have them 1-1 there. Then they face NC State.
Potential loss.
I have it as a potential L. I'm not going to give them the L. So let's say they win that. Then Stanford, that's an easy dub. Florida State, they're going to get clapped. Wake Forest, win. Virginia, win. Louisville, potential loss.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech, win. Pittsburgh, they fucking suck against Pittsburgh. Now, I don't think Pittsburgh's good, but my God, the amount of times Clemson has almost lost or lost to Pittsburgh is embarrassing.
Where's that at? Is it at
Pittsburgh? It's at Heinz Field.
I'm telling you, playing at Acrisure Stadium is not fun.
Fuck, whatever you just called it, fuck off. It's Heinz Field, okay?
Hey,
I don't what acupuncture stadium? Like, fuck off, dude.
It's some like insurance firm or something.
Give a fuck. It's Heinz Field. My God.
Out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, bought the rights.
That's even more embarrassing. God, the Steelers should just quit.
Well, technically, it's not the Steelers' rights to sell because the city owns the stadium.
Well, then the city sucks. I don't give a fuck.
Well, Mayor Bike Lane is pretty bad. So
yeah. Anyways, so then Pittsburgh, I'll give them. Yeah, fuck yeah. This is my favorite scene in any movie.
it's because
The only thing that could have made it better was if Heinz Ward fell in.
no.
But so Pittsburgh will give them a dub. I think they could lose that one, which would make them 7-5 if they lose the others.
Especially if it's at night.
Yeah, it's TBD. We don't know.
It's going to be at night.
Citadel, give them a dub. South Carolina.
Shane Beamer and the Mayo boys.
It's a fucking rivalry game, bro. Like the amount of times I've seen South Carolina beat Clemson when they had no business beating Clemson, I'm not ready to. I mean, 6-6 is definitely worst case scenario, but I see 6 games that they could lose. I see 6 games that they absolutely should not lose. Now, I believe they'll win 9 or 10 games, but right.
I don't know.
Either way, that it's not. I mean, they don't face Miami, they don't face Notre Dame, so they escaped 2 of the ACC big hitters. But they face Florida State. They start with Georgia, which I would have tried to get out of that any way I could if I'm Dabo.
Right.
Louisville, NC State, Pittsburgh, South Carolina. I mean, those are 4 toss-ups. You're going to lose one of them probably. So yes, I'm serious. I think best case scenario, they go 10-2, and that's only losing to Georgia and Florida State. And then you have 4 other games that I think are closer than you'd like, and I don't think Clemson's going to be that good. So those 4 other games, you split 2-2. You're looking at 8-4. Is 8-4 really enough to keep him off the hot seat after how bad he's been recently?
Well, I think 8-4 keeps him off the hot seat just for the simple fact of where are you going to go? I mean, Clemson knocked it out of the park when they hired Dabo from Bowden.
Yeah.
That was there.
They did. And then Dabo decided that he didn't want to learn college football anymore.
Well, I just feel like there's an old contingency there. There's a lot of old money in Clemson, and they like what they like. And, you don't have a bunch of issues. You're not Georgia. But you're also not winning.
But you're also not Georgia.
And you're also not Georgia.
Right? Like, I don't know. I might take a couple DUIs and some reckless driving if I get 3 natties or whatever.
Is it by any mistake of anybody else's that Kirby Smart rolls up in Georgia and Clemson's reign of dominating Georgia recruiting stops?
No, that's by no coincidence at all.
And I've had a couple Clemson fans want to argue with me and say, "Do you see how many how many players we have from Georgia on our team?" And it's like, you don't have the right guys, though.
Yeah, you don't.
You're getting the guys that Georgia doesn't want. So
you don't have the fucking big time recruits, the Isaiah Simmons and shit like that. I don't know if he was from Georgia. I'm just saying, But anyways, when you look at their roster returning, right? So they are 54th overall in returning production, 64%. Offense, they return almost 80% of their offense. Defense, only 49%. They lost Adam Kisai, who is an edge rusher. He was ranked number 29 in the 2024 class. He transferred. Bo Collins obviously transferred to Notre Dame. Tiriano Pride Jr., number 6 ranked corner in the 2022 class, transferred. And then Andrew Mukuba, who was a 4-star safety, transferred. And the thing about him transferring was wild is he's been a starter for 2 years. He's had 31 starts and played over 1,700 snaps. And so they lost quite a bit of players that had experience. The edge rusher Kisai, he hadn't really played, but he was supposed to be a big time recruit for them. Bo Collins had played, Pride Jr. had played, Mukuba had played, and then you look at what they brought in. They brought in a recruiting class that was okay. That's it.
Except for the Sammy Brown kid. Go watch his tape. I'm telling you, kid out of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch his tape. I'm telling you, I think he's going to play this year. I think he's
Well, he might have to. And he's going to be a freshman, right?
Yeah.
I don't put a lot of stock in freshmen.
But
So he might be a baller, but this year he's not going to ball. I promise you that. The other thing that they didn't add one single transfer.
well,
Not one kid.
That's the well, yeah, he did his whole recruiting class. They're just transferring from high school to
Yeah,
college.
fuck that. That's not how this works, Dabo. That's not how this works. So while they lost 4 pretty major players to the transfer portal, they brought in their recruiting class, which they do every year, as every program does. And they didn't add any experience. They didn't add any players out of the transfer portal that anybody even knows. They didn't add a single one that nobody knows. They added no transfers. So you lost all this and then didn't bring anybody in. You're relying on 18-year-old kids to step in and fill those depth positions and some starters. And like their defense is going to be solid. I agree, but you're only returning less than 50% of your defensive production. And you lost 3 contributors and didn't bring anybody in except for recruits. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and so when I look at it, I think their schedule lines up nicely. Like I said, they have 5 games that I think are losable. They'll lose 2 of them for sure, I think. That's it. They'll probably win the other 3 just because they have some home games and things like that. So they'll probably end up 10-2 would be my guess. Maybe make the playoff as an 11 seed or something like that. And then they might face Notre Dame in the first round. And so that's why I put them on our state of the program preview list, because I think Clemson Notre Dame would be a great matchup. The committee is going to be looking for TV shows. They're going to be looking for matchups, and that would be one that would draw a big number. And so when I look at Notre Dame versus Clemson, I tried really hard. Because the first thing I look at is what's the main concern for Notre Dame? And the first thing that popped in my head after I did all my deep dive, I watched the film on some guys. I looked at Notre Dame's roster compared to, there's none. I have no concerns. The defense at Notre Dame is going to go up against a subpar offense. And that defense is going to be one of the best defenses in the country. Shouldn't be a problem. They should stop them pretty easily. Clemson's D, they have talent. They aren't loaded. They have some solid defensive backs. They lost a couple, but their front seven's pretty questionable. They have decent defensive linemen. Linebackers are okay. But honestly, when I look at it, I don't see any question marks. I mean, I think the defensive backs are comparable to the wide receivers at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's offensive line is comparable to Clemson's defensive line, and the running backs are way better. So ultimately, I think it comes down to Notre Dame's defense versus Clemson's offense, and I think that's a mismatch. So I'll get into my prediction in a minute, but I didn't see a whole lot of red flags, and I think that would be a great first-round matchup for Notre Dame.
I agree with you there. I don't think Clemson has the dogs on defense yet to make a deep run in the CFP. Do I think Notre Dame could potentially see them down the road in the CFP? Yes, absolutely. I think they're a team. I think Clemson, although, with this new playoff thing, we've seen it in the NFL, New York Giants. We've seen it in the NFL. As long as you get a chip in a chair, you can always do something. So, I think we're going to find out about Clemson, how they play Georgia, if they don't get absolutely mollywopped. They're
going to get absolutely anally fucked, but yeah.
Well, it's
sorry.
It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough game for them. But if you're Clemson and let's say you go 11-1, you beat everybody you're supposed to beat, and your only losses to Georgia, can't keep you out of the playoffs then.
No, if they go 11-1, I would extend Dabo.
Because
that's not going to happen.
I think 10-2, but
10-2 is the best case scenario. There's no way they beat Florida State, Louisville, South Carolina, and Pittsburgh.
I think they can. I think they can beat Pittsburgh. I'm more.
I think they could beat Pittsburgh. I think they could beat Louisville. South Carolina is always a toss-up. I don't see him beating Florida State.
Florida State is going to be on the road because it was at Clemson last year, and so I think we got an issue there. So,
but I'll give you my prediction. If they were to face off in the first or second or any round of the playoffs, I don't think it's that close. I got to be honest with you. I got Notre Dame 45, Clemson 21. That's if they're able to put up 21 points on Notre Dame's defense. I think maybe they throw a pick 6.
We got to see what the Notre Dame offensive line looks like first. So, I would say Notre Dame would win that game by 10 to 7 points.
Yeah.
Just for it being a playoff game, neutral site game, the jitters, the bugs, everybody's got to get it out.
Well, yeah, but at that point, Notre Dame will be 12 games deep at least. I think they'll have it figured out by then. But this also brings up, I saw this. It's from a CFB report. It categorizes all the head coaches in college football by their trait or what they're known for or whatever. And I don't know if you've seen this yet, but. So it ties right into what I've said about Dabo, and we can go through it quickly here. Best overall, obviously Kirby Smart. I don't disagree with that. Consistent, Brian Kelly. Recruiting, Ryan Day. Offense, Lincoln Riley. Defense, Kirby Smart. Development, all through the list here. My favorite are Brian Kelly is the best choker as a head coach. But he's also the most consistent. And I'm not sure how those two go hand in hand together unless you're consistently choking on dick. Or choking in general, I guess, but
I like how they put Lane. That is a terrible picture of Lane Kiffin, by the way.
Looks like a mugshot, bro.
That's just a horrendous picture of Lane Kiffin. Like everybody else has decent. their headshot that goes in the program. Lane Kiffin looks like he's standing like he's standing at the drunk tank or something.
Bro, that might have been that's probably his headshot from the program though. Like he's probably like, I don't give a fuck.
But yeah, it is Lane Kiffin has one of the most epic promotional videos when he was at FAU.
Yeah.
Just you'll have to look that up. I mean,
I've seen that. Yeah.
That is gold. But the guy Tom Herman's down there now.
Yeah, but my favorite, my two favorites, other than, Lane Kiffin's loved, obviously. Deion Sanders definitely hated. Fuck, he's a douche. But the most falling coach is Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney, the old Dabinator. And yeah, I agree. I think he's falling fast because he refuses to adjust to college football. The other one, hot seat. Thank you. Obviously, Billy Napier is the most on the hot seat coach in America. That's not even close. He's already been fired. It's written in stone.
100%. Whoops.
But yeah, overall, I think they nailed it. I do think I don't know. I guess Brian Kelly is consistently mediocre, but I guess he's consistent.
Yeah, the thing with BK is that he's just. I don't know how he can be a choker in. Being a choker and consistent, it just
he consistently chokes. I guess if it's a big game, you can guess Brian Kelly's not going to win. I guess that's consistent,
right?
But I don't know. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. And obviously, there's no Brian Kelly love here from me, and Dabo is, I believe, on his way out. I think this year. He has the chance to really fuck it up, but I think he's probably going to win some of those games that could be losses, like Louisville, South Carolina, Pittsburgh. Those three are maybe, but he'll probably win those. And then if he just loses to Florida State and Georgia, He's going to be on the verge of a playoff berth, probably save his job. If I'm a Clemson fan, I don't even want him to. I don't know what the hell we're doing. But other than that, let's get into some Notre Dame stuff before we wrap up real quick. So I don't know if you saw this, but Notre Dame announced they're going to wear green jerseys again. They do it about once a year. Every now and then they skip a few years, but they're going to wear green jerseys versus Louisville on September 28th. Now, I know how I feel about the green jerseys. Do you know about the green jerseys? Do you know the history behind the green jerseys?
I've read the history. Okay. I am not a fan of the green jerseys. Let's if every time the green jerseys are worn, it's normally a loss.
Well, now history would disagree with you.
10 guys on the field.
I agree. Recent history would agree with you. But so my experience with the green jerseys, you got to understand that I grew up, they wore the green jerseys a couple times when I was a kid. I didn't really pay that much attention to it because I was young. But my first actual green jersey experience was the USC game in 2005 or 6 when it was at Notre Dame. Brady Quinn's a quarterback. Notre Dame went and they're facing number 1 USC, and that's the Bush push. That's when Reggie Bush illegally pushed Matt Leinart into the end zone and won the game, which was illegal back then. You weren't allowed to do that. But ever since then, I feel like they lose every time they put them on.
Well,
however, since they started wearing them, they wore them before 1977, but it wasn't really tracked. But since they wore them in 1977, which was like a big deal, they're 35, 12, and 1 when they wear the green jerseys. So history would tell you green jerseys, good thing. I don't like that they're wearing them against Louisville, though. After last year's Louisville game, the embarrassment that it was, I mean, I don't know who you wear them against. I definitely wouldn't wear them against Florida State, so I guess I'm glad they didn't pick that one. But I don't know. I don't know who you wear them against, but that gives me a bad feeling for the Louisville game now.
Can't we just wear the Shamrock Series jerseys and make that special? Oh,
God. Shoot me in the fucking face. Are you kidding?
If you're going to change them.
No. At least the green jerseys have history. The Shamrock fucking series is awful.
Well, I'm not a big proponent of changing the jerseys.
Well, but the green ones, there's history behind it. At least that is a historical thing that Notre Dame done. The Shamrock series, they started, 15 years ago. And they just put random ass shit on the helmet and do stupid ass shit. Well, we're going to play in Yankee stadiums. Let's put some pinstripes on our jersey.
Well, it's better than wearing the green jerseys and having 10 guys on the field.
Well, I think everybody took a math class this offseason and knows how to count to 11, so we should be good.
The verdict's still out on Al Washington. I'm not letting it go. I am not letting it go.
I don't even think Al Washington's still there, so it's fine.
Yes, he's there. I'm not letting it go.
Anyways, absolutely, Richie. This was the worst fucking helmet I've ever seen in my life.
Is that the one that they wore at Soldier Field when they played Miami? I actually like that helmet.
Of course you did. God.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, all right, let's get into one last thing, and then we're going to get out of here. We're going a little long tonight. It's been a show. But I do have an update. Talked to somebody today talking about wide receivers, because that has been one of our big themes this offseason was the wide receiver room isn't up to par. And it came out that wide receiver coach Mike Brown has essentially said, and there is a clear pecking order in the wide receiver room, that they're going to stick with a 6-man rotation, which is pretty common amongst college football. Unless you play for Ohio State, then they don't rotate. But you play 5 to 6 wide receivers usually. Although he did say he feels like there are 8 or 9 players that could play. So The top 3 wide receivers for this season going into week 1 are going to be Jaden Greathouse at slot, Chris Mitchell, the FIU transfer at the field wide receiver, and then Bo Collins, the Clemson transfer at the boundary. And then you're 2 deep. You're going to get Jaden Harrison, who's a transfer from Marshall at the second slot, Jordan Faison at the number 2 field receiver, and Jaden Thomas at the boundary. Now, what I love about this, and I think this is an indication of that they've done a good job in the transfer portal, is all 3 major transfers that came in at wide receiver are on the 2 deep. And Bo Collins obviously didn't get here till the summer, but when he got here, he immediately was inserted in, taking reps with the ones. So that's good news for me. Is that enough? Do you think that's enough firepower at receiver? And are the transfers going to be impactful enough to make this receiver group not a liability? Oh boy, I lost the Duke. There he is.
I had something, I don't know what it was, but it felt like something ran across my feet and I went to kick it. So,
well, all right. Anyways.
As far as the receivers and the everything you just broke down, I feel like it's got to be, because Notre Dame is not in the wait and see mode. It is go mode week 1. Texas A&M is not going to be a slouch. Everybody keeps on saying, well, they're not going to be this, they're not going to be that. Well, Texas A&M has probably 4 or 5 guys on the defensive line that are ready to get after Riley Leonard's ass as far as the pass rush. So the receivers here is going to be key. The play calling is going to be key. And I think the receivers are going to have a short leash if you are not running the right routes, or if you are consistently not doing what you're supposed to do, there's going to be a short hook. That's the way I feel. That's the way I would run it, but that's just me. I feel like there's going to be a super short hook.
Here's what I've heard, and this gives me enthusiasm about the wide receiver position, is the top 3. Obviously, we know what Greathouse is. He's a solid slot receiver. He's going to get his. He's going to be fine. He's not going to – I mean, he's not a, like, top first-round pick or anything like that, but he's going to be a good slot receiver. Chris Mitchell has looked phenomenal. FIU transfer, speedster, put him in the field, let him go run, love it. But from what I've heard, Bo Collins has come out and really solidified himself as the number 1 receiver in that room, which is what I've said all along. Somebody needs to step up. Somebody needs to come in that room and be a fucking dude. And I believe Bo Collins has done that, which, if that's the case, this wide receiver room could be much better than what we've been saying all offseason, which it's still out. I mean, we still have to play the games. Like, I'm not saying they're going to be one of the top receiver rooms in the country. They're not. But if Bo Collins actually came in, lived up to his hype as a recruit, and has shown himself to be a go-to option in that receiver room, that's massive for this team. Now, the problem I have is when I look at the 2 deep. Jaden Harrison, Jordan Faison, and Jaden Thomas, none of them impressed me. I was really hoping that Micah Gilbert or some of the freshmen would come in and take one of those spots, because I know what Jordan Faison is. I know what he is. He's okay. He'll be fine. He's not somebody that's going to impact the game. He's not Jeff Samardzija out there. Like, he's not somebody that's going to go out there and put up 1,000 yards, or even probably 800 yards or 700 yards. But if those top 3 are what I'm being told they are, which 2 of them are transfers, so it's yet to be seen on the Notre Dame level, but I like those top 3. I do wish that some of the younger guys like Micah Gilbert would have broken into that 2 deep to get into the top 6, because I think they have much more upside than what we have here from Jaden Harrison, Jordan Faison, and Jaden Thomas. But I'm not worried about it, because if those top 3 are what they should be, the next 2 are going to be more situational players, and they're just going to be out there to spell the guys and to give them a rest. And if that's the case, I'm good with it. If it's a true rotation and you're talking about 50-50 snaps between those 6, I am worried about the too deep.
Right. And, Carter, we've talked this into submission, over the summer. And I think the best thing that we're going to be able to do at this point in time is we're just going to have to see it play out on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely. And I think Bo Collins is going to be a good player. So I hope he is a true number 1. And that comes out. I think Chris Mitchell has top end speed and can be somebody that stretches the defense. I think Greathouse is a good slot receiver. So I don't have any issues with those top 3. It's the depth that makes you question things. And I was really hoping, especially Micah Gilbert, would get into that next level.
Well, I think that, this will be my closing statements on the wide receivers, because it's, we've talked it into oblivion. My biggest takeaway is, how are they going to respond at Texas A&M when things don't go well? Do they step up and make plays, or do they not? Because as far as the people that want to talk to him, well, if we get this guy in space, he can break tackles. No, I'm not really going for that, because either these guys can play or they can't. And if they can't, it's going to be a long season. So with that.
Yep. And I'll give you a quick recruiting update on Notre Dame. We'll get out of here. The recruiting update is there's absolutely nothing going on. It's dead as fuck. Deuce Knight hasn't decommitted, thank God. Hopefully that goes on for another 2 weeks. Nobody's flipped really. And we're recruiting 2026, which I'm not going to waste my time on until the spring. So there's your Notre Dame update for the night.
All right. Well, with that being said, everybody out there watching, whether you're on Twitter or YouTube, hit the like and subscribe and share this with your group chat. And give us a comment on where you're watching from. But with all that being said, anything else, Carter?
No, absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and just, let us know what you think, what you want to hear, comments, questions, all that shit.
All right, everybody, have a good one.